George Adamson's plans were to create a pride with Christian and 2 other lions, Catania, an orphan lioness cub, and Boy, an adult male, born and domesticated in Africa. All 3 would be released into the wild together, but first they had to bond, a very new experience for Christian.
He thought he was the only lion in the world, and it was a shock to meet one that was 3 times his size.
The first time he saw Boy, you can imagine, he hasn't seen a mature lion since his father. And there's this enormous and very cross lion, too.
For Boy, Christian was a threat. In prides, younger lions often attempt to usurp an older lion's position.
His first reaction when he saw Christian was very aggressive and frightening.
He would keep charging at the wire to really scare Christian, and he was scared, and we were scared too, I can tell you.
Christian got in behind our legs and sort of snarled unhappily.
We could see it was starting to work, and we had to step back, and the relationship that we had with Christian, we had to pass on to George. It was sad to leave him, but there was a moment of thinking, there you are, you're in the right place, the right man, and you've really got a chance.
The fact that we'd got him there and he would probably have a future there, it made our feelings not irrelevant, but that was such a good feeling.
Ace and John's life had centered on Christian for over a year. Now, after 4 weeks with him in Kenya, it was time to leave him with his new family, his lion pride.
He did pad down the track as we left, and that was sad. We weren't sure of our reception this time. We always thought anything could happen. It was very dangerous. It was the wilds of Africa.
After an anxious day in the compound, Ace and John walked onto Christian's territory. George might be welcome here, but Ace and John were almost strangers. They hadn't seen Christian in a year. If he perceived them as unwelcome guests, there could be trouble.
George appeared on the top of the hill, I suppose about 100 meters away from us, with Christian. Christian ambled down another 10 or 15 meters and had a very long, hard look at us.
You could just see him assessing what was going on. He kept walking slowly, slowly down towards us.
And I think that was the point where we actually couldn't bear it any longer and actually called out his name.
And at that moment, the pace picks up. And he was just so excited. And of course we were. I mean, imagine how excited we were.
It was just an incredible reunion. Whether we were human or he was animal was sort of irrelevant.
Christian's acceptance of John and Ace was mirrored by the lionesses. They were brought to Cora 3 months earlier to develop the pride. They too welcomed the newcomers.
Suddenly, we were aware that those two lionesses were with us as well, and they were greeting us and pushing and shoving.
We had these lions we didn't know milling around us, Christian jumping up on us, George beaming. It was really quite sort of euphoric. It's actually quite hard to find the words for it. Everyone, lions, humans, all felt we'd shared something very, very special. So it was very emotional for all of us, and we knew we'd been part of or witnessed something quite extraordinary.
Christian's London family relaxed with his African family, the lionesses and an orphaned cub. Ace and John were confident that Christian had found his home in Africa.
To leave him the second time was easier, really, because you knew he was such a success. Had a wonderful relationship with George. He obviously had a powerful relationship with the lionesses, and he was huge.
Ace and John's extraordinary reunion with their lion Christian in 1971 has become a YouTube phenomenon. But a year after that now famous scene, the two friends made the journey back to Kenya, hoping to see Christian again.
George had been keeping us up to date with what was happening, and that he'd been disappearing for months on end, and was obviously looking to establish his own territory further away from Cora.
George warned us that he mightn't even come to camp. We still thought it was worthwhile going, just in case we did see him.
After 3 days, Christian finally arrived at the compound, and these rarely seen images show the large adult lion he had become.
This time, he was very different from the year before. He had matured considerably. He was much, much bigger. He was much more, I'm grown up now.
He was so incredibly handsome, incredibly lovely. All lions loved him, all humans loved him. He was extraordinary. He lost none of his charisma.
He'd be sitting with us, and then suddenly he'd get up and he'd just walk away and sit somewhere else.
We were undoubtedly more superfluous to his life.
It was like, now I've got lion things to do.
But it was the first posting of their reunion clip without music or subtitles by a California student in 2006 that turned their story into an international phenomenon.
Hi.
Hello.
I just really believe that video needed to be seen. I was surprised it wasn't anywhere else on YouTube or on the internet anywhere else. I couldn't find anything.
Why do you think it has been so popular on YouTube?
Well, I think it's striking people on a very powerful basis of love. I'm really glad that the internet's out there and is raising awareness, and I'm glad to have been a part of it.
It's like a gift to the world, really. That's how we see it.
Special hug. Thank you.
Special hug.
Since Lisa's posting, several versions of the clip were embellished with music and titles.
It is quite mind-boggling. 50 million people have watched the reunion video. And we do wonder, how can we harness that incredible goodwill and interest?
People have been touched by this. People have seen this video and they've just been affected by it.
It's a beautiful story.
I was just blown away.
It was very moving.
Christian's story exploded and prompted the release of an updated book about his life.
I do think it's all meant to be. I think possibly it's a cry for Africa from Christian from 40 years ago.
If he can and raise awareness of conservation and the need to protect endangered species. What a fantastic legacy he's left.